Hello, I'm Pastor David Glesney, Senior Pastor here at St. John's Lutheran Church of Bloomington, Illinois. It's fantastic that you can spend some time with us this week. And this week's Monday Memo, we got lots and lots of stuff. Things are hopping here at St. John's. We'd love to keep you up to speed on a lot of those things. We began our narrative lectionary this last weekend. It was wonderful. This weekend, we'll begin with a presentation of Bibles to our third graders and our kindergartners. Please look for more information about that. We'll also have a noisy offering this weekend for our Hopedale Growing Project. And yes, last but not least, we also have our flu clinic coming up. So lots of wonderful things, particularly for you who are parents of third graders or kindergartners. Please make sure to attend that 9:45 service and the educational times that are listed in the materials that you've received, either postcard or via email. They can set you up for that as well. We're looking forward to another fantastic weekend. Also this weekend, as if that wasn't enough, we have our Heritage service out at Funk's Grove at 11 o'clock. So if you're able to make that, it's a wonderful time of community, of heritage, of hearkening back to the early days of St. John's when it used to be known as Swedish Lutheran Church. So we invite you to join in any or all of those possibilities. More information, as I've always said, can be found on our Facebook page or on our webpage. So please take a look or contact the church either by calling us or via email. We'd love to have a conversation with you about all these wonderful ministry opportunities. Coming up this weekend, we also have a family-focused text from Genesis, the 18th chapter until the 15th verse, and then jumping ahead to the 21st chapter, we have the story of Abraham and Sarah and their desire to have a family. It's a story of promise and of patience and a little bit of comedy. We begin with the first verse of the 18th chapter. The Lord appeared to Abraham by the oaks of Mamre, as he sat at the entrance of his tent in the heat of the day. He looked up and saw 3 men standing near him. When he saw them, he ran from the tent entrance to meet them and bowed down to the ground. He said, "My Lord, if I find favor with you, do not pass by your servant. Let a little water be brought, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. Let me bring a little bread so that you may refresh yourselves, and after you pass on, since you have come and refresh yourselves. After that you may pass on, since you have come to your servant." So they said, "Do as you have said." And Abraham hastened to the tent to Sarah and said, "Make ready quickly 3 measures of choice flour, knead it, and make cakes." Abraham ran to the herd and took a calf, tender and good, and gave it to the servant, who hastened to prepare it. Then he took curds and milk and the calf he had prepared and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree while they ate. And they said to him, "Where is your wife Sarah?" And he said, "There, in the tent." Then one said, "I will surely return to you in due season, and your wife Sarah shall have a son." And Sarah was listening at the tent entrance behind him. Now, Abraham and Sarah were old, advanced in age. It ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. So Sarah laughed to herself, saying, "After I have grown old, and my husband is old, shall I have pleasure?" The Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh and say, 'Shall I indeed bear a child now that I am old?' Is anything too wonderful for the Lord? At the set time I will return to you in due season, and Sarah shall have a son." But Sarah denied it, saying, "I did not laugh," for she was afraid. He said, "Oh, yes, you did laugh." The Lord then dealt with Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did for Sarah as he had promised. Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the time of which God had spoken to him. Abraham gave the name Isaac to his son, whom Sarah bore him. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac when he was 8 days old, as God commanded him. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. Now Sarah said, "God has brought laughter for me. Everyone who hears will laugh with me." And she said, "Who would have ever had said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? And yet I have borne him a son in his old age." It's a funny story. It's a wonderful story. It's a story of promise and hope despite our best interests, sometimes our best inclinations. God tends to work in God's own ways, and trusting in those, we find that God fulfills God's promises to us, as he promised to Abraham. We'd love to have you join us in worship this weekend at St. John's, Saturday night at 5 o'clock. Sunday morning, our traditional service is at 8:30, and then we have 2 Community of Joy services, one at 9:45 and the next one at 11. Remember, there's lots of stuff going on, lots of opportunities. You can also join us for Heritage Worship out at the Funks Grove Church. You're invited to join them out there at 11 o'clock, and there'll be a lunch to follow to boot on that service. So we look forward to seeing you. May God bless you, give you peace, and we'll see you here in worship. Bye-bye.